I know it, even though there's been all of this, Vince is not really responsible. I was going to say, even though there's been all this media coverage and all of the national awareness of wrestling, he's really not responsible. Vince McMahon is not responsible for that. Just the advent of cable TV was responsible for that. But I think that Vince McMahon, and you'll see later on, has been probably the worst thing that ever happened to professional wrestling. And eventually it's already starting to show itself. It's the decline. The average fan, you guys probably know more than like the average person than just a casual fan. They think that wrestling right now is hotter than it's ever been, when actually it's really on a major decline thanks to all of the circus type atmosphere that Vince McMahon has associated with wrestling.
For the AWA, don't you think that Vern Gagne runs a fairly boring organization? Because I've never really seen a more boring wrestling program than the one that's on ESPN.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's like, you know, I agree with you. I agree with you in a sense, but Vern Gagne is. I don't know how old Vern Gagne is, but Vern Gagne is still basically from the old school of wrestling. He's the oldest promoter still left in the country, and Vern Gagne still wants to promote wrestling. And Vern Gagne was an Olympic wrestler, and he's proud of the fact that he's a wrestler. Vince McMahon has never put on a pair of wrestling tights in his life. He's never, the only thing athletic about was his feet. And you know, he cares absolutely nothing about the actual sport of wrestling, whereas Vern really does, and Vern doesn't go in for all of the, shenanigans and the circus atmosphere. But what happens is the fact that you see so much of it from Vince that all of a sudden, when you see Vern's show, you say that's boring. And, it's really kind of a shame. I think that Vern needs to kind of update himself and get more into the, what's happening now. But he just, he doesn't want to be like Vince McMahon.
Well, I think one of the worst things that happened was having Curt Hennig as champion, because he did absolutely nothing.
Amen. Well, a lot of people would argue with that.
Yes, they would.
So hopefully you will help turn the AWA around.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that or anything, but I don't agree with the fact that Curt Hennig did nothing. I think Curt was the best he had in the AWA at the time.
Curt Hennig was the only guy. It must have been a hard job for Curt Hennig to be champion of a league that lost so many people over the course of time that he was there.
Yeah, see, one of the things I talked about that Vince McMahon did that was so detrimental to wrestling was in rating the other organizations. All Vince McMahon has in mind is putting everybody except himself completely out of the wrestling business. He wants to dominate the whole thing. He's literally like an Adolf Hitler as far as wrestling goes. He wants to dominate the entire wrestling world and change it all to his style of wrestling. And so what he's done is he's oversaturated different markets. He's put his television show on every station that he can in every market that he can get it on. And when people can turn your television on and you can watch 30 hours of wrestling a week, if you got cable on television, why are you going to pay $5 and go see 2 more hours of, in a live match? So 5, 7, 10, whatever it is. I mean, 25 out of it. So, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's oversaturated wrestling. He's gone into other areas that have been promoted by, say a Vern Gagne or whatever for years, and then if Vern's got a match on Friday night, he comes in with a match on Thursday night, and then all of a sudden, here comes Jim Crockett with a match on Wednesday night. Well, how long would the Philadelphia Phillies last if you had the Philadelphia Phillies playing on Friday, you had the Philadelphia Yankees playing on Saturday, and you had the Philadelphia Mets playing on Sunday? The Phillies don't play. The Phillies want to play. What I'm saying is, if